city has voices. If you listen over the humdrum of everyday life, you will hear them. Listen closely and you will realise it is not just one, but rather a whole symphony. The tragedy is that no one hears them. They are drowned by deafening silence. If a tree falls in the forest with no one around, does it make a noise? If a woman is mugged in the street, does anyone hear her cries?
And in a related story, our very own Trevor Montoya was tragically gunned down today. Trevor was a veteran journalist who has always been a fixture here at the Evening News. An official statement by a police spokesman tells us that they are pursuing many leads and hope to catch Trevor's killer. All our hopes and prayers go to Trevor's family this evening. This is Jenny Waters, Evening News.
She was a lovely country girl who came to the big city filled with hopes for the future. She sits behind her desk doing the job of her dreams and is invited into many living rooms every night. She speaks, her voice is heard, and she feels shame. Her true voice screams silently, but it is drowned by lies.
Tonight on Silverlight, Mayor Charles Dean will discuss his plans to deal with the problem of overcrowding and antisocial behaviour at Riverside. Also, we ask you, the viewers, should our country send its troops to fight foreign wars when we have domestic issues? That's tonight on Silverlight. That's 11:05, right after the late bulletin.
She was a woman who dreamt of becoming a famous actress, now hosting the most popular talk show on television. Men lust after her body, her delicate face and golden hair every night. Women look at her and feel jealousy of her perfect figure and perfect life. The pressure will take its toll tonight, and she will overdose. Paramedics will find her unconscious in a pool of her own vomit. Her voice will not be heard this night.
That was Here I Go Again by Whitesnake, and just before that, Alone by Heart. Tonight's show is all about family and not being alone, folks. So call in with your musical requests and stories of how your families have managed to overcome difficulty. This is Barry Swanson, SFMW, bringing you music and talk until the wee small hours.
He was a disc jockey trying to inject hope into a city. Few people listen to his show. Fewer still telephone him. The playlists are his. The stories are his. He tries to help families talk to one another. However, his sombre mood causes listeners to switch off. He plays the same show every week, trying to encourage the citizens. He plays the same show, hoping that his son will hear the radio and come back to him. But his son never hears. There are no radios where he is. He is a man with the power to broadcast his voice across the city, and yet utterly fails to be heard by the one person he wants to hear it.
Hi, Miss Carruthers, this is Gemma Dawson, Leslie's mother. Hi, I was just wanting to thank you personally for tutoring Leslie this month. She was really struggling until you gave her the one-on-one tuition. Richard and I are very grateful.
The teacher listens to an answering machine tape over and over. She feels the star underneath her blouse and says a silent prayer in her mother tongue. She fears what her friends, her colleagues and her neighbours would say if they knew the truth about her. She never felt shame about her birthright before coming to this den of tragedy. Who will speak for her?
And blowing in from the east, we have quite a nasty storm front. Folks, you can expect the city to be overcast for quite a few days. High winds are probable, and I don't advise you to go anywhere without your waterproofs. Further away,
rain lashes the streets, as the weather girl predicts. Those that can afford it do not walk. Their windows are tinted, preventing people from seeing in. It also helps them pretend they cannot see out. Their apathy to their fellow man prevents them hearing the screams of a dying girl or the sobs of a beaten man. And down another alleyway, a homeless man huddles under cardboard for shelter. He knows not which causes him the most pain, be it hunger, cold or despair. It gnaws at his insides and never stops. Tonight, madness will take him as he starts to realise the truth, and his voice will ring out from the crowd. He will be the first to shout. He will also be ignored.
Civil servant from the Department of Planning found hanging from the rafters of City Hall. Police have declared the tragic incident as suicide and are not pursuing any other inquiries.
Tragedy strikes every night and every day. The news bulletins are only too eager to report it. He was a civil servant who knew too much. His murder will never be investigated. No one will speak for him. Those that know the truth will not. Those that suspect dare not. Who will speak for Bill Warwick, father of Jamie and husband of Teresa?
repeat, all units in vicinity of Storm Plaza, assault in progress, urgent response required. Suspects described as 5 boys between ages of 15 and 20 assaulting 1 female. I repeat, all units in the vicinity.
The call comes in over the radio and the police officer moves to start the engine and sirens. His partner stops him and reminds him that they were given specific instructions to ignore all calls in that vicinity this evening. The officer is reminded that they were both well paid for their momentary deafness. He slumps into the seat of the police car and feels the weight of shame his badge has brought him. Another plea goes unanswered. The screams of a girl are deafening and unheard.
Patient case notes. Patient 54632, John Doe. Patient admitted to accident and emergency by ambulance this evening. Patient found in alleyway behind the Ebony Tower nightclub, no clothes, and having suffered a beating. Patient is suffering acute pneumonia, malnutrition, a broken leg, 3 broken ribs, and a broken nose. I also have concerns about his blood pressure and would recommend.
A bald man with no friends, no family and no memory lies in a hospital ward. The doctors have operated on him, treated his wounds and given him pain medication. A drip is attached to his skinny arm, trying to replenish fluids and salt. The man has nightmares about things he cannot comprehend, things he cannot know about, and people he has never met. He wakes up screaming several times and needs to be sedated. He too will see the truth. Realisation will overwhelm him. The shock will stop his heart and doctors will pronounce him dead.
Time of death, approximately 02:23. Cause of death, blunt trauma to the back of the head. Subject found lying in a state of undress on the ground. It would seem likely head wound was sustained by violent collision with the ground. Damage to vaginal tissue does indicate a sexual assault by one or more assailants.
He is a medical examiner, reviewing the case notes of a fatal rape. He shakes his head at the tragic loss of one so young and so beautiful. She will never know the joy of children. She will never again hold her sweetheart in her arms. No one will ever hear her sing. Another voiced silence. The song of the city can be beautiful and terrible. Wind howls between the towers of the corrupt heart. Rain beats down on those unfortunate enough not to be counted among the rich and powerful. Car engines roar past. Televisions in every living room and every shopfront tell the same tales of tragedy. Homeless people shiver in doorways and alleys, seeking shelter under boxes or the latest edition of the town crier. Voices cry out for help, but are drowned by cacophonous apathy. Tragedy is spawned every night under the bleak and unending sky. There is no light on the horizon. There is no hope. And in a city of tragedy, what is one more to the tally? His was just one more voice that screamed out in the night for help and went unanswered. He calls out even now, plagued by every nightmare of the populace. All the pain, all the fear and all the anger assail him, forcing him to endure torment and suffering. His eyes flash in understanding. He discards his cardboard shelter. Leaving the alley, he follows a purpose not of his making. Now I have a voice. You will listen to me.